After the liberation of Marawi City and into the advent of its reconstruction phase, claims of alleged human rights abuses during the 5-month siege are now being leveled by an international human rights advocacy group against the military. PTV senior and chief correspondent Rocky Ignacio with the AFP standing pat on their position over these latest claims.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines is firm that respect for human rights and rule of law was observed at the height of military operations against terrorists in Marawi City. In Bagong Marawi press briefing, AFP spokesperson Major General Restituto Padilla said this after the Amnesty International had questioned the alleged violations of the AFP during the operations to restore peace and order in the area. According to Padilla, the AFP will properly respond provided that the Amnesty International will heed the process and make the complaint official.
We are committed to respecting international humanitarian law and respecting human rights. And even the Chief of Staff has reiterated his strict instructions that, and I quote, General Leonardo Guerrero, when he gave his guidance to all our troops that he will not tolerate nor condone misdeeds of our soldiers to include violations of IHL and human rights. We will investigate and discipline those found guilty of violating policies and regulations, which includes IHL and HR. So that's part of his instruction, and even the former Chief of Staff, General Año, at the very beginning of the conflict in Marawi, has made it part of his strict instructions to abide by all that we have been taught to respect, which is the rules of conflict, including IHL and human rights.
Padilla reiterated that the military operations' primary concern was the safe rescue of residents used as human shields by the terrorists.
May I just highlight that the armed forces addressed so many challenges in the main battle area during the conflict. And may I highlight that there were 1,780 civilians who were rescued by our efforts. And the proportionality by which we use force was in consideration of all the challenges that we face, which is one, the safety of the civilians who may be trapped in the area. That's primordial.
This led the AFP spokesperson to believe this is but another attempt to discourage the military.
Hindi ko po masabi kasi wala po tayong basihan pa. Pero sana naman po kung ito man ay nanggagaling sa ating ilang mga kababayan na hindi natutuwa sa ating paggalaw na ito, sana naman po respetuhin nila yung memorya at yung sakripisyo ng mga nagbuwis ng buhay.
Although there are no indications of the Maute group still in the main battle area, the AFP is strictly monitoring areas in Maguindanao and Cotabato against armed group, including BIFF. Padilla said this is the reason why martial law in Mindanao remains significant. The suggestion to extend implementation of martial rule in Mindanao is likely if threats continue in the area. Martial law in Mindanao will end at the end of the year.
Be that as it may, the network of the local terrorist groups still continue, and this is the subject of our efforts. If not, we will have to request an extension to be able to address the remaining threats in the area.
Meanwhile, the road to normalcy is now in full swing in Marawi City. ASEAN dialogue partners such as China, Japan, Australia, and the U.S. extended help for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of Marawi City.
Because the task force is the accountable agency, is the accountable organization, and we want to make sure that we know everything that comes in para properly accounted ito at masasabi natin sa taong bayan na dito napunta yung mga binigay ng ating mga kaibigan.
Rocky Ignacio for The Nation.